Hey, what's up, gentlemen? I just wanted to come on real quick and have a little discussion because, as you may have noticed, the newsletter just has not been sending out as frequently as it once did. Now, if you followed along since the very beginning, the goal was really to help men activate their faith, lead their families, and build their business. And so the newsletter had a cadence. Occasionally, I might have sent something about a world event, especially everything that was going on since Charlie Kirk. We're actually coming up on the 1 year anniversary. It still doesn't feel real next month, I believe. But what that did, that event kind of inspired me in a lot of ways and really gave me a lot of energy for helping to get out of my head what I thought was a great message to send to a lot of guys. Because I know so many of you are just struggling with that feeling of contentment, feeling of like, what do I need to do with my life, where I'm stuck at in my job or, my house or whatever. And believe me, I've been there. Even now, where we had bought a home several years ago, it was on a golf course and the golf course sold and now it's being rebuilt and it's very difficult to find another place to move. Because I just need something green to look at. And instead it's a dirt pit. Now they're putting in 3-story apartments. My mountain view is about to be gone and it's just driving me crazy. But no matter where you are in your walk or in life, like my whole goal was to help you understand that if you put the Lord first and you activate your faith and you start leading in that direction, then you'll be able to lead your family well and build your business well. And the reason why is, and the Bible actually talks about this, if you love God and you're putting him first in your life, then you will be blessed. It's that simple. You've committed your life to him. Everything from that point on is blessed. The problem is so many of us just feel like, a lot of guys, I would say, feel like they have these seasons of their life where they're blessed and favored, and then it's followed up by not blessed and favored, and then you fall off that track. And the reality is, you just need more accountability, you need higher purpose, and you need the right men in your life to kind of help you push through and succeed. So fast forward to starting the newsletter, started shooting it out to all you guys. And first of all, I just really appreciate everybody that read and contributed, responded. And then life actually happened for me, particularly with my business. And I was really excited to be demonstrating to you guys, or like sharing with you, like, how do you build a 7-figure business? And what ended up happening was I built a business that didn't succeed in the way that I thought it would. So for about 13 years now, I've been running my own company. Before that, I would freelance some, but I was largely working in the nonprofit space for, I guess, right at a little over 10 years. So I've been in this whole industry for 20 to 25 years. Sounds pretty crazy to say that out loud. But what happened was I built an agency, a marketing agency based on what I did. And as it grew to where I couldn't handle it anymore, then I would hire someone to do that role. And then I'd keep doing one role, or, originally it was like 10 roles. And then I'd hire people and scale that way. But along the way, what really began to happen was we had wrong fit clients. Now, my thought and my heart behind it was we're going to work with a lot of nonprofits because they're doing great work in the community. And that's really my heartbeat, is like investing in that, in generations of people that maybe just need a hand up, not a handout. And they just need, some of them were ministries, some were food pantries, some were disaster relief, and all great things, good people behind them. There's just a whole lot of potential there. But the problem was, over the last few years, there's been a shift in most industries where they're being taken over, not by visionary leaders, but by operational minded people. And operations doesn't understand vision a lot of times. And so what they do is they put all this pressure on their team, and we didn't work with the leaders as much as we worked with the marketing managers, middle managers. And when those people get pressured, and part of the, just to help them see it, they would share how much they were paying our company, and then they were pressuring them. And I didn't change my model. So I continue to keep the same model of how we got clients, acquired clients, and how we serve those clients. And we didn't change it until the end of last year. And honestly, it was too late. We developed a marketing clarity engine. It's actually a really great engine, but the people we were working with couldn't understand it because they just naturally default to what they'd always done, but with more pressure and more anger because we were making way more than these frontline staff were. And so it was just a culmination of like the worst of all worlds. And all these brands went through like staffing changeovers at the same time. And what ended up resulting out of that was essentially my business was failing consistently month over month, no matter what we did, how hard we trained the team, how many, meetings we had to inspire people to try and get sales up. It just didn't happen. And it started to tank. And so I had prayed about December 31st is when I had to make a decision. Do I let people go? Do I continue to serve this one client that was really, really hard? In my heart of hearts, I knew I should let them go. But it was like, that's a significant contract. I mean, you were talking over 6 figures on a contract. And we had another group. And so between the ones towards the end of that month, probably was representing $200,000-$300,000 of client revenue. And so what we got was somebody on a team made a decision, and that decision then sparked us to run all of our own numbers and realize that we could not sustain the full team and keep it profitable. But the problem was because I built the business in the old way where you did kind of like all things to all people of the model, and I had not shifted it quite yet. We were going to shift it this year, but I hadn't fully shifted it yet to where there were very specific deliverables, almost project-based instead of campaign-based. And so what happened was I had to make the very difficult decision to dial that contract down, the last remaining giant well contract that we had, and notify the client on January 1st. So what that did is it sparked a chain of events. And the chain of events I thought would motivate people on my team to step up and help us get sales. But in reality, what happened was everybody was burned out. I had a pulse on it a little bit, but I didn't know it was as bad as it was. Everyone was burned out. Nobody decided to help. And where I look back on that now, and I'm like, the main failure that I had was not having sales and marketing systems in place, even though I was telling all of these other people how to do it. So spending all my time helping these brands that honestly didn't care. They weren't listening. They wouldn't pay attention. They give you like all these side things that they needed answered to do. And we just couldn't handle it volume wise for our team, even though our team's filled with experts, maybe not quite with the mindset that I have, but, just filled with really, really great people. And at the end of January, it might have bled into the first half of February, but basically I went from being a great business owner, providing salaries, having monthly or weekly meetings with our team to kick off every week and praying and all kinds of stuff to nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. It dialed down to not just zero, but under zero. In fact, we took a line of credit out in our business just to cover everybody's expenses, and I'm still paying that off today. And it was actually kind of a wise decision at the time, but now you look back and you're like, man, that's one I could use a do-over on. But that is really what Soulfire was all about to begin with, was not just trying to inspire you that you can do it, but to showcase that there are very difficult seasons. Not everybody is cut out for this. Not everybody will just wake up and be a naturally born and gifted visionary leader who can operate a business well. I would say it has shown me in the areas I need to improve as an owner, and shown me in the areas that I need to watch for so that team and myself, we don't get burned out in the future. And it's also shown me the type of clients that you actually want. And as much as I love the ministries and the visions for a lot of these groups, I mean, when I say nonprofits, we were working with 85% nonprofits at one point. And the mission's great. The people were great to an extent. But their mission is always going to come first, and their priority of their thinking, and what I thought were valued relationships just weren't. I had a group we worked with for off and on, I've known them for 20 years, and they, in the middle of all this, terminated the relationship over an email. Didn't answer a call, didn't call back. There wasn't any like bad blood either. That was the weirdest part. They would just decided they were moving on, boom, done. They hadn't even paid us. That was the funniest part about the whole thing. They weren't paying us other than for like some web hosting. But we had another group that I worked with for 13 years. They were they were my very first client. I did get another client that paid before them years ago, but like they were my first real client, and not even a thank you from the people that you actually wanted to hear it from, the founders, all those people. And so really wrestle with that for a hot minute. It was like, wow, really makes you decide, what are you in it for? Are you in it for the accolades? And as we all know, the accolades, if you're in it for that reason, it's not going to be really worth it, because you're never going to get enough. But to say that it didn't sting would be a lie, because it did. And what do you do in those situations? Do you hold it against them? And so what did I do? I ran to scripture and I was like, all right, what is the Lord saying here? And what I realized was there was a common theme across the board. A lot of these clients were upset with my staff, but my staff were trained really well, but there was something missing in that equation. And again, it was just not adopting a new model, not getting the right operations person to be operating while I could maintain the visionary aspect. And so I tried to dive into the operations and fix bit by bit, but it was too late. It was really just, it wasn't going to work anymore because it was too late. All these people were changing what they did, how they did, to appease their boards, their internal politic games, and we were getting sucked into a lot of it, and just wasn't healthy. So the good news is it's very healthy now. The bad news is we are still trying to dig out of the hole, and I still don't have a team. I have people that are contractors, but so far I haven't needed them because I built AI to cover all of their responsibilities. And I hate that fact, but I have to keep it profitable. And that is the number one thing that I'm working towards right now, getting the business to the profitability it deserves so that we can scale it back up to where it needs to be and start rehiring staff. To be somebody who gets on here and talks and, shares and here's all the ideas and like you're walking around blessed, and then to feel like, oh, you were kind of a massive failure. You let a lot of people down. You ruined their 2026. Kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. It was very difficult, very mentally challenging. Kind of checked out on some of it in regards to I just couldn't even think about it. I had to kind of move forward, move on, find the next thing, push in hard. And so part of that was like, oh, it's all in on Soulfire. Here we go. Let's roll. We're going to make this thing big because I do want to help men to activate their faith, lead their families, build their business. But the challenge was I didn't feel like I was one of those guys that could be trusted with it because I was failing in our actual business. So what do you do when you encounter these moments? That's what I want to talk about. And if you're still here listening to this, thank you so much. You are one of the true guys, the champions. But what do you do when you encounter these moments? The first thing that I decided to do was run to scripture. I went and I read, and what does scripture say? Well, some people have made me really frustrated because of the way that it all shook out. I mean, we were there helping people in their darkest hour, both our employees and our clients. And, we were there, like I said, in their darkest hour, when the moments when things got, really tough. I gave up birthdays and hunting trips and, time on a Friday, time on a weekend to help them overcome their challenges. And it felt like, you're just completely betrayed in a lot of ways from those clients. And so in those moments, what do? Well, I went and I sought the Lord. And the Bible clearly states that vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And if you want to move forward in life, if you harbor resentment and bitterness against those individuals consistently, you just won't. Because you're only thinking about them. You're letting them fill your mind, your thoughts, and it's very, very difficult to move on past that when that's all you can think about. It will consume you. And what I learned in that process was like, wait, do you really believe that the Lord, vengeance is his? He'll take vengeance, but it might not be what you would do. I wanted all of them to burn their stinking businesses and nonprofits have to get shut down and given to someone else. But a lot of times it looks like blessing. And it looks like blessing in the sense of maybe they prosper. And are you going to be okay with that? Maybe their company does better now than it did when you were the one serving them. And are you going to be okay with that? And I had to come to grips with the answer is yes. The answer is not that, oh, I'm so good, so controlling that, I hope they get worse. Now, I know there's a good chance that might happen because the new companies helping them have no idea what they're doing a lot of times. But regardless, am I going to let my days be filled every single day with thoughts of them or thoughts of the future? In Jeremiah 29:11, we all know it's like, the Lord has thoughts, and hope for your future. And when you think about the future, well, like our future ultimately resides in the presence of God, in fellowship with each other. All is made right, every tear wiped away. But in between, the future that we live in right now, why would you want to waste your time and breath worried about what was? You have to look at it as that was a learning and growing experience. People are adults. They'll be able to survive and move on. There's seasons in your life of prosperity, maybe seasons where you weren't as prosperous, seasons of good health, maybe seasons where you didn't have as good of health. And so you have to look at it as a season. And so what season am I in? Well, you also have to see, when there's a similar set of circumstances happening again and again and again, you have to self-evaluate and determine, is this related to me? Or is this the Lord opening a new door and starting a new season? At first, I was like, it's probably related to me. But I really do believe it's a new door and a new season. So, like I said, I started to pour back into Soulfire, and I just kept hitting the wall again and again and again because I felt like my voice didn't have the authority and the punch that it used to. But the reality is, now I'm really waking up and discovering that it does, because I've been there, I've done that, I've succeeded, I've failed. I'd already done it many times before, but this failure is pretty up there. And yet the Lord somehow has allowed this business to continue to survive. I mean, we were -0, and yet somehow we're still here, still difficult, still have a lot of work that has to get done. But the clarity that came out of that has been really exciting. So here's what the clarity looks like for those of you still here and interested. Soulfire is the flagship program for me. I am building out my personal brand. Hopefully you guys like the newsletter. It's going to definitely continue. Not sure exactly how I'm going to position certain aspects of it, but I want to bring as much value to your life as I possibly can. And that you can learn, like rest on my shoulders, learn from the mistakes, the successes, the failures, all that kind of stuff, and use that to propel yourself further, faster. That's my goal. But inside of that as well, I'm rebuilding, and I think this process is really interesting. And at first I was like all over the place. Like we are moving into, it's not just Soulheart, but it is Soulheart Ventures, which is the portfolio company which owns Dreamly, Soulheart. Now it owns Fieldmark, which is a spray drone company they're trying to get up and launched at some point. Probably going to be a 2027 thing. And Praxis Coaching, which is a coaching platform for just general like life and business coaches, faith-based life and business coaches. And got some partnerships, minority stake, or different things going on with that. And it's really exciting. But at the core, it will all get powered out of Soulheart. Soulheart is just the general marketing engine. What I want to move away from is Soulheart being the marketing retainer group that's just bringing in these great, big, hefty contracts, but also struggles to fulfill them. So what I'm actually working on is building a pathway. And I've been working through Alex Hormozi's framework for offers, leads, and money models. And frankly, that's what I want to coach and teach you guys on, is I've learned it and I'm implementing it and it's transforming and changing our business. Then I can impart that on you guys. And so again, the faith aspect where you can just live your faith, lead your family, build your business. That is not going away. It's exactly what I believe everybody needs to do. Well, but how do you build your business? That's the key. A lot of people just have a bunch of ideas, they never do it. So for me, I want to help you launch your idea into a brand. Once you get that thing launched, then we're going to help you install AI and then scale that business. I know what to do. I've done it for all kinds of brands, just had not been doing it for myself. We kind of had this moment of pride where I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm a little prideful about the fact that Soulheart has never needed really to run ads in order to grow. But now look, because I didn't do that, we had to completely transform our business, didn't have the money and capital to hire all the people that we needed to go ahead and push in earlier. We just got behind the curve. So what does that look like now? Well, I'm transforming this whole thing into a Soulheart venture. And when I say venture, it's not the actual holding company in this case, but transforming Soulheart into a more packaged and productized offering. So the goal will be, we're going to help you launch your business with a launch pad or an ignition. I'm not sure the name of it yet. It's going to come soon. Then we're going to help you install the Soulheart OS. I've been building it for a while, but it's based on the data from my own company, the successes, the failures. It's based on all the ads, and inside of that OS, there's several engines. There's like a clarity engine for your brand. There's an advertising engine to know if your ads are working or not. There's ways to assess it, and there's a score. You can log into it, see the score of your brand once you assess it, and then ultimately, my goal is that your data, my data, all combine together to help give stronger outputs for what should we do next. And then the final piece is kind of this accelerator. So when I think of brands, I think of sort of they're getting that launch going. They kind of get all systems check and go. I mean, a little bit before launch, during launch, and then right after launch, you want to be coasting really well. And then once everything's aligned, now you want to accelerate and pour the gas in the fire. So Soulfire itself is going to be very focused on helping men that basically are struggling with that courage or identity to start something, maybe need to start with the faith aspect, maybe have a bunch of ideas, just haven't acted on them, need that, motivation to build the business, but you got to reverse engineer it a little bit. And it starts with, living your faith or activating your faith, leading your family, building your business. And then when you get to the building your business part, how do you continue? Well, with Soulheart, this marketing agency engine, it is built around, yes, build your business. But the reason that my business failed is because we weren't doing marketing for our business. We were just trying to do networked sales. That was it. One channel didn't produce enough because my network got tapped out years later. And I wasn't into all the chamber meetings and networking. I just love my family too much, want to spend time with them, and all extra time I'm hunting or golfing. That's it, right? So, or traveling. So really, I still want you to stay a part of this thing. Still want you to kind of follow along. I've always viewed the words of Paul, like follow me as I follow Christ. And I've always been a big believer as the Lord reveals things to me or shows me things in my life that need to change or get better or improve. Those are things that I can help coach somebody else through or just share it with other people. And I do that all the time in general. And so this is the platform, the space. If that annoys you, unsubscribe, delete me. I mean, I don't care. I would prefer that I not waste your time. If you're interested, and if you're this far in, you're definitely at least somewhat interested, or this is just cringeworthy enough to keep watching, right? But I want you to commit. I want you to step up. The Bible actually says stand firm. It says stand firm when you're kind of resisting the devil and all this kind of stuff, but it's also true. Like as men, you need to act like men, stand firm. So many people on my team, they left. And I can't blame them that they didn't, stick with, because there's no money attached. But if you stand firm, the promises of God will always display in your life. And that is my encouragement to you, my challenge to you, no matter what you're going through, where you're at, to focus on the words of Scripture that speak to men, tell you how to actually lead your wife and your kids, how to actually love them as well, how to actually be a man of God. I think our shirts here at Soulfire say, godly men rising up to serve the Lord, or rising to serve the Lord. And I really do believe that we need to rise up. We need to stand up, stand firm. And just like the old Psalm says, standing on the promises of God, my Savior. Like, we can stand on the promises of God, and that gives us the courage and identity and hope that we've been looking for probably all of our lives. And we can also, like there's some of the devotionals I've written, learn to be a son first, learn to be a husband next, and then learn to be a dad who is following his Father, who is God himself, Christ himself, and telling all of his children to follow him. So follow me as I follow Christ. That's what I want my life to be the reflection of, and I hope that comes across and translates to you guys. Now, where does that finally leave us from here? I'm rebuilding everything. I have become a partner with Lovable, and our agency is moving to a Lovable agency, which is basically everything we do is AI powered. Just is, has to be. And inside of that, I'm building a system that you'll be able to plug your idea into or your brand into and assess it to see where you're at and get direct training and resources on how do you actually get it to be a thriving, beautiful, scalable and accelerating business. That's my hope and prayer for you. As we do this, I want to unlock a bunch of different things. I want to unlock deals that you can be a part of, whether they're ones that I'm investing in or other ones that are out there. I want you to see the behind the scenes of what does it look like to build a company. I mean, I'm back to solopreneur in a lot of ways, and that's not what I want to, continue doing for the rest of my time. I want you to see peek behind the curtain of what other things we're actually doing as a family to make money. I've got a 15-and-a-half-year-old who's doing some live selling right now. I want you to see some of the things and ways that it's actually easy to make additional capital, whether it's on the side or as a side hustle, or you want it to be your main thing. I've learned enough through the years now, and through this latest adventure, I've been able to see, okay, this is exactly what it will take to be successful. So on top of that, the final piece of the equation is, and kind of the why you should even listen to some of the stuff that we have to say, when it comes to building a brand, ads is the easiest way that you can get in front of somebody, interrupt their day. You're probably already looking for the content you have, build the right kind of content for it though, and then get them to become a customer. The reality though is if you do it on your own, it's going to be really difficult to get that first customer at a cheaper price. But if you do it through my system and the things that I'm building, it's actually going to be a win-win, because number one, your data will be able to be something that you can learn from, as well as it can inform the system and help it to learn better over time. But this system is trained on $2 million of advertising that we've run. This started out years ago, and I was like, hey, I think I should do ads. I think that would be really interesting. So $2 million of ads. I've pulled all the data together from it, pulled all the analysis, and I've tested it on a very small micro area of where I live, and 3 different ad campaigns, and they just keep getting better. It informs it every single time. They get better, they improve, and the results went, I think the cost per click actually went from $1.75 something all the way down to 23 cents last week. So I want to actually dive way deeper into that stuff, because I think it could really help you, whether you've got an established brand or you're just getting off the ground. Ads is the number one secret sauce hack that you could ever have. And frankly, I've been doing it long enough. I even have a trophy on the shelf from Meta themselves, because most of our ads that we're running is Meta ads. We do a few others, but right now you just want to be one channel specific to get this thing off the ground to where you want it to be. Then now you can start scaling into other areas and things of that nature. So if you watch this long, like I said, I just want to say I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a wild year, not what I had written in the cards, but it was exactly what needed to happen for me to go through so I could taste sort of that bitterness of the water that comes with hitting a wall of failure, but it's actually what looks like a setback to most of the world is actually a setup for the future that God has planned. So you're seeing that walked out and lived out in real time. And hopefully, Lord willing, I'll just be creating more content, more videos, more training, more things that can just help you get that brotherhood, brother to brother, shoulder to shoulder, iron sharpens iron moment that's going to help you succeed in anything that you put your mind to. That's my prayer. That's my hope. And I don't say that with ego. I say that with humility because I know what it's like when you're trying to do it all on yourself or all alone, and it's not fun. And so I'm even thankful that I have this group to share this with. I've got good groups of guys in my corner. We've had lots of conversations. They didn't let me just walk down another road. They kept me in check, kept me accountable. And all the things I've been teaching and preaching, I've now been able to live almost from scratch. And let me tell you, the future is very, very bright. We live in a world of AI. It's taken over a lot of aspect of this world, but believe me, it's actually helping us get more efficient, more streamlined, get better, and just be able to accomplish a lot more in life and ultimately use that accomplishment to give back to the community, your family, and live the life of your dreams. So that's my prayer for each of you. Thanks for being a part of this journey. As always, I'm Josh Brown, and if you need any bit of help, encouragement, just send me a reply, hit a comment up, always around to hop on a call and just check in, get to know you, or shoot an email or text back and forth. Love you guys. Thank you so much.